Good afternoon and welcome to Mediascope, the programme for and about the public relations, event management and journalism industries. I'm Ellen Gunning and you're very welcome to the programme, which is sponsored by the Irish Academy of Public Relations. I'm joined on the line by Nichola Reeder from 12th Man Solutions. Hi Nichola.
Morning, Ellen.
Now, I want to talk to you about your business because you're providing a new service for PR and communications agencies based in Ireland, helping them to do some promotion in the UK. But I want to start by asking you, what do you do in the UK at the moment? No, let me roll that right back and ask you, 12th Man Solutions. Okay, satisfy my curiosity. Where do you come up with a name like that for a business?
Well, thanks very much for speaking to us this morning, Ellen. It originally came from the sporting analogy of the 12th man being that extra pair of hands, that person you need in a crisis or when you just don't have enough resource in your own team and you need that 12th man to come on and do a really great job when you can rely on them to perform. And it's really that we go into businesses and help when they don't quite have the right resource in their own business to achieve their own communication aims, to deliver those plans for speaking to retailers. And we act as that extra body to go into their businesses and really help them get their message out there about their great brands.
Well, listeners know that I know nothing about sports, so obviously they knew immediately what 12th Man Solutions was about, and it was completely lost on me. Tell me what you actually do in the UK. You've been doing this quite a while.
Yes, that's right, Ellen. We've been in business as 12th Man Solutions for about 4 years, but actually my experience in the UK grocery market goes back about 15 years with working with companies such as Asda and Mars and Heineken and all the great brands that those companies have. What we actually do now, we're really passionate about retailing and about convenience retail in particular in the UK. We're really inspired by all the independent retailers that we meet across the UK who are innovating and competing with some really fierce multiples and some really fierce activity we have across brands in the UK. And what we do is we work with leading grocery brands, people like the SHS Group, the National Convenience Show, brands such as Wolf Blass Wine and Seriously Strong Cheese. And we just help them talk to 50,000 convenience retailers, help them those retailers to understand what stocking those brands can do for their business, how they meet their customers' needs, how they meet the shopping missions that their customers have got, and the commercial benefits of stocking those brands, basically what it does for their bottom line. We really understand with convenience retailers that they're in business to make money as well as meet their customers' needs, and we try and help them understand how the brands we work with can help them meet those objectives. And
is it strictly those convenience stores that you specialise in and strictly the grocery market? That's not all we deal with. Obviously, there's a real blurring of the lines in terms of the grocery market in the UK. So traditionally, you would have had somebody who did their big weekly shop and then would top up at their local store, maybe just for a loaf of bread and a pint of milk every week. But that's really blurring now, and people are shopping for a top-up in the big supermarkets, but they're also shopping in the convenience stores for everything they need for their meal for tonight or actually for the next few days. So as those channels are starting to blur, we're really developing our own expertise in understanding how shoppers are using those stores and then helping the different retailers in those channels to understand the customer behaviour and understand how to communicate with customers and how to communicate with retailers. So we probably work mainly with convenience retailers because we just find them really inspiring, and those entrepreneurs in those businesses need perhaps more help than some of the bigger grocery retailers. That's fair enough. They need that 12th man, as you say. Tell me, you mentioned two products, Seriously Strong Cheese and Wolf Blass Wine. Give me an example of what kind of things do you actually do for either of those? Well, for example, a company like Seriously Strong Cheese, it's a big brand from a company like Alice McClelland, and they were launching a cheese tasters pack just before Christmas. So it's a great little pack for a convenience retail store for having their chillers for Christmas. You've got people popping around, you want to put a nice cheese board out with some wine, but suddenly you think, I've got nothing in. So people can pop to their local convenience store and buy this great new pack that's got a little bit of every type of cheese in there for them, and it gives you a really nice premium offering for your friends that are around with you. But it's how do you get that story out? How do you tell people, those 50,000 convenience retailers, that there is this new product, that this is the mission that it fulfills, this is the sort of people who are going to be buying it. So we use things like trade press, we use digital and social media, we use events, we use our relationships with journalists to get coverage in the 13 trade magazines that we have in the UK, to be writing about that product, to be helping the retailers understand the commercial benefit of stocking a pack like that, who would buy it and why it would make them money.
So yours is really a business to business. It's selling into the retailers who in turn sell on to the consumer. Your job is to get something like the Seriously Strong Cheese Taster Pack, or to help it to get into the convenience stores. And then when it gets there, is it somebody else's job, or is it still your job to promote it to the consumer who says, great idea, makes me look like I'm in control, I'm buying one of those?
It's probably a combination of both, actually, Ellen. I think certainly our job is very focused around B2B, and it is about helping those retailers to understand the commercial benefits and what it does for their store to sell that product. Hopefully what we can do is feedback to our clients about what's happening in the channel and who's shopping in those stores, so that they can make sure as brand owners that they're putting out the right packs in the right quantity, in the right pack sizes, at the right recommended retail, so their whole promotional plan is right for the customers who are shopping in their stores, so that when a retailer stocks that pack, it's got the best chance of success. And actually, if they're stocking the right packs at the right place and putting them in the right fixture in store, it should kind of sell itself, actually. There's a bit of shopper marketing activity around that to highlight something in store, but actually the feedback of the work that we do to make sure that the right packs are hitting the trade should help that product sell itself.
It actually makes a lot of sense if you get the other elements right. Tell me about Irish products and moving into a UK market, because I know what you're looking to do now is sort of expand your business, but not really. You're concentrating on the area that you know best is the UK retail market, or the retail grocery market in particular. And you're looking to help Irish companies, presumably through their PR consultancies, I would think, Irish companies who are actually trying to now begin to export into the UK, into that market?
That's exactly correct, Helen. Yes, we were really fortunate that a couple of weeks ago, with the Department of International Trade, we were able to visit Dublin and start talking to some contacts and some brands around their expansion plans for exporting back into the UK market. We saw some fantastic Irish brands across a number of categories in alcohol, beers, confectionery, cereals. And we thought there was a great opportunity for those brands to find a place in the UK market, whether that's to Irish nationals who are living in the UK or actually just people who want something a little bit different. So we think there's an opportunity for some of those brands to find their place in the retail market. And really No,
I was just going to say to you, are you talking about brands who have already identified a UK market and think that's where they want to go? Or are you coming at it from the other angle and looking at brands that you can see and thinking there's nothing like that in the UK, or there's a niche for that in the UK? Or is it a bit of both?
Yeah, it's absolutely a bit of both. We'd love to think that we could help both of those scenarios. So if there are brands who are already thinking, we've tried to export to the UK, but we just can't find our way into the market, we don't know how to talk to retailers, we're just not getting any traction, then perhaps a conversation with ourselves might help them just unlock that opportunity, or maybe understand who the people are that they might have the highest potential to speak to. But equally, we saw a couple of brands, particularly probably around some of the gluten-free beers that we've seen, or some very kind of niche and artisan chocolate products that we thought, do you know what, we think there's a real opportunity for them to be a little bit different in our market. We don't see anything like that. And over the next few weeks, we're really wanting to talk to some of those companies and see if they've ever thought about exporting themselves and see whether we can help them.
And one of the things you said to me earlier was that you're very conscious of, when you're dealing with a market, you're very conscious of telling them stories, that your skill, if you like, your USP is that you will create a story, or you will tell a story in an inspiring way that will actually make an impact with the retail trade. Talk to me a little bit about that, because very often I find that people don't really know what's most interesting about their own product. They get so consumed in building it and creating it and getting it out there that they forget that there is actually a really interesting story, maybe in how it was produced. How do you go about finding a story that impacts with people?
Absolutely. That's one of the things that we're really keen to work with the retailer to understand. What is the story that's going to inspire them? What do they need to hear? What are the sort of things that will motivate them? And we have a philosophy that is around, if you don't feel something, you won't believe it. And if you don't believe it, you won't act on it. And that's really what we try and do, is find
what's great about a brand, not the logistics or the pack size or the ingredients, but where it comes from. Where's the real passion that a food producer has brought into that crafting that food or drink product that actually has something that people will buy into, a real authenticity. And it's finding that story and unlocking it, because exactly as you say, people don't realise what is great about their own brand, that little tiny nugget that to them is just something very ordinary, but actually will really capture the imagination of a retailer because they feel they've got some common understanding of that, or that they've been through a similar scenario. And it's finding that little nugget that we can say, yeah, that's what defines your brand, and that's the value of your brand, and that will then, with a commercial benefit, will motivate a retailer or whatever audience you're talking to will motivate them to act.
And as an item of interest, when you're talking to the retailers, you're talking to them, you're using media, so you're talking to them through retail magazines. Are they the same? The grocery trade isn't an element that I'm familiar with. Are they the same retail magazines across Ireland and the UK? Are they different? I know that they would have different styles. What have you found on sort of that line that you can help with?
Yeah, so what we already have, I think, an expertise for in the UK is we have up to 13 trade magazines that have very different audiences. So we have magazines like The Grocer, which is a very, very successful and well-established UK magazine, but can be quite corporate in how, and some of the issues and debates that it's looking at are a little bit more kind of academic and theoretical and some of the bigger issues, whereas a magazine we work with like Retail Express would be a lot more practical in terms of guidance and best practice and case studies that retailers can replicate in their own store. We've really understood the different audiences of each of those magazines, and we write accordingly for the audience for that magazine. What we've just started to understand, we've been speaking to some of the Irish-based magazines such as Retail News and Shelf Life, and the market is so different in Ireland. The share of convenience and the quality and standards of the Irish convenience stores is fantastic. But it is quite a different market, and needs to any communication is quite different in terms of how you talk to retailers. So I think it's really interesting through this where we can help is for those Irish food and drink producers who want to come to the UK, and really helping them get an understanding of who do they want to talk to, what do they want them to do, and therefore which is the best magazine for them to use to achieve that aim.
And Nichola, for any PR consultancy or food producer that's actually listening to us who want to get in touch with you to tap your brain cells really and find out how they progress from here, how do they get in touch?
So there's lots of ways they can get in touch. The easiest way is via our website, which is www.12th-man-solutions.co.uk, or you can find myself, Nichola Reeder, on LinkedIn, or follow me on Twitter, which is @12thmanslady.
Nichola, thank you so much for this afternoon. Enjoyed chatting to you.
Thanks very much, Ellen.
Well now, that's all I have for you for this week. If you have information you'd like to share with listeners, or you have a good story to tell, then please send us an email to mediascope@dublincityfm.ie. And don't forget, you can hear podcasts of this and previous Mediascope programmes on www.irishacademy.com. I'm Ellen Gunning. Sound this week was by Fergal Daly. Thanks to my guests, Deborah Leonard and Nichola Reeder. And thanks to you for being with me today. I look forward to the pleasure of your company at the same time next week. So until then, goodbye.